Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, the voice of reason, Dave Dunaway. It's Thursday, July 9th, 2026, and you're listening to The Sports Voice. Well, I guess this technically makes me the post-game to the post-game. I guess we'll have to figure out which one's actually longer in the grand scheme of things. The Pittsburgh Pirates losers this afternoon, 10-5 to the Atlanta Braves. Their second loss in a row to the Braves. Second loss in a row, actually, to Dylan Dodd. 2 innings in 2 nights, gets 2 wins. 2 innings in 2 nights for Dennis Santana, gives up 6 runs. So a lot to break down with the Pittsburgh Pirates and where they stand going into, I think, a very important weekend series, the final series before the All-Star break against division leader Milwaukee. Some changes in the All-Star game as a result of this series over the weekend, because both Paul Skeens and Jacob Misiorowski named to the All-Star game, but neither will play because both will pitch this weekend. So we'll get into that. We'll get into some controversy that has surrounded the Pittsburgh Pirates, actually 2 areas of controversy this week, starting with Connor Griffin and the injury that's going to apparently sideline him until September, and then this, whatever it was last night, fooling Jared Jones with 77 pitches and 6 perfect innings. The second time a pitcher this week was pulled pitching a perfect game because they're coming off an injury. So a lot to get through with all of that as well. In addition, we'll talk some other sports, not a whole lot happening with football. Hockey, we touched on a decent amount last week going into the Penguins draft and free agency and sort of what the direction looks like there. But we can talk World Cup soccer. We can talk NBA, WNBA. We can talk Wimbledon. Listen, I've been sitting around for weeks. All I do is turn the TV on. I could probably talk about a bunch of things I could not talk about before. But most importantly, we'll welcome back to the studio this week, Nick Barczyk. Nick, welcome back to the Sports Voice. It's been a while.
Absolutely, Dave, and we just have to say, good to hear from you, buddy. Glad you're doing well, and it's Thursday afternoon, so it's time for Sports Talk with Dave Dunaway. Good to hear you, buddy.
Yeah, it's been rough. When I came on last week, I did an abbreviated show, which this one I guess is kind of abbreviated as well, and basically said, to dispel all the rumors. I'm sure people were hoping that I'd gotten fired over that little hiatus, but now I'm still around and still going, and I did tell them, I know there were rumors of where you were last week, and I did say that because I've been laid up, I could not use my invitation to the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift wedding, and I did tell everyone I gave it to you. So I'm sorry to spoil where you were last week, but hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully they got a better gift from you than I do on my anniversary.
Yes, the Kelce Swift party was wonderful. It was a magical event, and yes, the cake and balloons were actually delivered to that event, unlike your anniversary. So, I mean, they're celebrities, Dave. I mean, you're a celebrity too, but they're just, they're a cut above, so.
Well, I think the plan in February is I'm just going to tell you that they're both going to be there as my guests for the anniversary show,
right,
just to see whether or not I actually get these balloons and cakes finally.
And I was looking for Fernando Mendoza to do that interview, but he wasn't there. So
I did say that too. I said maybe you're trying to find Mendoza finally for me.
Yeah, Simpson was there. I said, my guy to a sports show with, big fan, Ty, big fan. Yeah.
It's amazing not being on for as long as I wasn't on, how much I actually did miss it. And just, all the nonsense that goes on here on a weekly basis. I'm still a little ways out from being able to make it into the studio, but at least through the summer, hopefully I can make some phone calls in and try to get back to normal, try to get back to where I was, before all this happened. So, looking at where the Pirates are, I mean, I talked a little bit last week about where they're sitting, and you look at this wild card, and maybe I'm a little off on Miami. Miami surprised me. I thought they were more of a fluke. I was looking at teams that were in the play and in the picture. Washington, And I don't see anything that looks a whole lot different from Pittsburgh at that point. But there are issues with this team. We talked a little bit about it last week. We'll get into it a little bit more this week. With the loss today, the Pirates are 47-47, 24-24 at home, which is not good considering what the offense has done. And one of the things that I brought up last week is the bright point for this team has been the offense. The low point is what everybody thought was going to be the strength, the pitching. And over the last couple of days, you think about all the names that have been called out. I think finally we hear the name Tom Murphy, the pitching coach, being called out. Never did I think the local media would be talking about good things done by Oscar Marine. But this bullpen has been absolutely atrocious. Pitchers that were somewhat decent in recent years are just imploding this year. And even when you take a look at the starting rotation, there's not really a whole lot to get excited about outside of Braxton Ashcraft, who was named to the All-Star game. Should have been an All-Star to begin with, but named to the All-Star game today, replacing Paul Skeens, the lone Pirate All-Star, which I honestly do believe there should have been more than one this year. Normally it's a gift that's wrapped up and handed to this team, but this year I thought Brandon Lau was deserving. I think Brian Reynolds is deserving of an All-Star nod, and I definitely thought Ashcraft. So I guess there's only so many players on a team, and you've got to have one from every team. That's the way Major League Baseball does it. But the pitching for the Pirates, outside of probably Ashcraft, I mean, Chandler's way under 500. Keller with the loss is 6-7. Skeens is 7-8. So you've got those two who are supposed to be the strength, who are both under 500. And then you get into that bullpen, and it is, I mean, Dennis Santana, he looks like the Dodger version of Dennis Santana. I knew this was going to happen at some point. I watched it for a couple of years in L.A. This is not good. There's nobody really outside of Majinski and maybe Soto that I think you could really put in and count on in a close game. And you're in a situation, you're in late innings, you're in the eighth inning, the score is 6-5. You get into the ninth, you're bringing in Santana, and in the second straight day gives up a home run. This time it's a grand slam that he gives up, makes Mike Yastrzemski look like Carl Yastrzemski, almost leaving the yard. I mean, this is just not working, I don't think, right now for the hopes of the Pirates to make some sort of push for the playoffs to continue to come out with this bullpen. Now, Ben Cherington today said he is planning on adding to this team. We expect a bat to be added at the trade deadline, and I think a couple of relief pitchers, maybe even a starter. I mean, the Pirates right now, they're hanging in there, but they could definitely use help. And I think that when you start looking at that bullpen, Nick, that's the first place that help is going to be required.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. I mean, last year it was the pitching that was wonderful, the hitting was awful, and now this year it's reversed. The bullpen has not been sufficient, and that's being very nice. So, yeah, the 2026 Buccos, I mean, it's always something with this organization. It's very hard to get all three or four, how many facets you want to say there are of baseball. It's very good to be even average at all of them, let alone above average. And this year it's reversed. They're leading the league, or at least as of last night, in runs scored and hits. But the pitching has been the bugaboo. So go figure with Skeens having the worst year of his tenure to date. Jones has been hit and miss after the injury. Braxton's been great, as you mentioned, should have been an all-star before he was Skeens' replacement. So, yeah, it's been an interesting year, but I think this team is where they should be. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, they could be better, they could be worse. I think this is where they should be. The weekend before the All-Star break, they're right at 500 at 47-47. I think that's about right, frankly, and they're going to contend for a wild card spot, I think, throughout the year. The division's out of reach. The Brewers are having a phenomenal season, but I think the wild card's within their reach if they keep up this pace the rest of the way.
Is there anything that's been noticeable from an organizational standpoint? This week is really the first week that I've heard Murphy, the pitching coach, getting called out. And you look at guys that have been with this team. You look at guys, I mean, Paul Skeens is coming off a Cy Young. He lost 6 games in a row until he got a win the other night. You look at Mitch Keller, who normally starts strong before the All-Star break and then sort of tails off after. I mean, he's 6-7 before the break. What hope is that moving on after? a lot of hope for Bubba Chandler and in his development, and he's well under 500 at this point. You go into the pen, Dennis Santana was supposed to be the closer this year, and right now has an ERA pushing 6. Isaac Matson was going to be, I assume, the setup man, and he spent time in Indianapolis. He's got an ERA over 4. Gregory Soto, the one pitcher that they actually did pay for, he had a 1-2-3 inning today, but his ERA is over 4. Yohan Ramirez, a lot of walks, coming down a little bit, maybe the most solid, he and Majinski, as far as those long relievers. I mean, Cam Sanders is back and forth. Hunter Stratton pitched a little bit in garbage time in the Skeens game and gave up runs. You start looking, I mean, they're crying about where's Evan Sisk. I mean, when you're really that concerned that Evan Sisk isn't in this bullpen, that's a problem. And I'm not sure if it is something to do with maybe a new philosophy that's come in, because Murphy was getting a ton of praise at the beginning of the year, but it's almost like this pitching staff has fallen off a cliff. And it's not just the bullpen. The bullpen gets singled out quite a bit, but the rotation hasn't been anything to really brag about outside of Ashcraft and one performance last night from Jared Jones, and we'll get into that controversy at the top of the hour. But, looking at it, Nick, I mean, I think everyone can agree. I mean, you're watching these guys hit home runs. It's still a lot of clutch hitting, but Nick Gonzalez is over 300. The offense is the least of the problems right now for the Pirates. And I've complained all year the bullpen is made up of journeyman minor leaguers, waiver claims. They haven't really invested. They haven't really spent the money that they need to bring in legit relievers, especially when you have guys on pitch counts, which apparently could be as low as 77 pitches from what we saw last night. Whoever comes in next has got to be lights out, and it just hasn't been. Yeah, Mason Montgomery's been a project. He came in, gave up a hit almost immediately last night. Didn't give up a run, but then Santana comes in and gives up a home run last night, gives up the grand slam today. I mean, in the end, how do you fix this? Can you go at the trade deadline and upgrade this, and will that be enough to fix the issues that you have? I mean, can you trade? I wouldn't even know who to even think about potentially that could be traded here. Is there a way to fix it? Because I don't think within the organization it can be fixed. We've seen Harrington. We've seen Barco. Everybody that's come up has struggled. Some of these guys have come up multiple times, like Cam Sanders, and struggled every single time they came up. I don't know if this fix is in the organization. What are they willing to do at the deadline? Are they set that this is a potential playoff team?
Well, they shouldn't be, but I'm not sure what moves there are to make. And yeah, I mean, it's an odd situation they're in. They're right at 500, 47 and 47. Do they sell? Do they buy? I think a lot of the people in the organization thought this was the year 2026. There may not be a season next year. Who knows about the future of Paul Skeens? But Connor Griffin, their prized possession, their young kid they just signed to a long-term deal. He's injured again, so maybe that threw a monkey wrench in their plan. So yeah, I'm not sure what they're pursuing. You would think at the start of the year, you would think, well, they need an extra bat maybe down the stretch. But no, maybe they need an extra arm now. And that bullpen, I'm not even sure where you start. It's been so bad, I'm not even sure how you address that issue. But yeah, if I were them right now, I'd try to get a wild card spot. And to do that, you'd have to, I think, bring in another arm at this point because, yeah, the pitching has been the bugaboo. We thought the offense would be that, but it's been fine. Again, they lead the league in runs and hits, and I'm not sure if it's a Bill Murphy issue. I'm not sure if it's just a personnel issue, if these guys aren't as good as we thought. I mean, we knew Skeens would come back down to earth, and you don't know going into a baseball season what's going to happen. I don't think anyone expected this out of Braxton Ashcraft. We thought maybe a little more out of Bubba Chandler. I don't think we knew what to expect with Jared Jones, and he's been up and down in his return to the mound. Obviously was phenomenal last night and could have had a perfect game, but Davis' arm might have fallen off, so we have to make sure he's all right. Yeah, but
remember he's rehabbing.
He's rehabbing, yeah. So yeah, I would get another arm at this point, but I'm not sure they're going to do that because we know this organization, and I think they're fine with the way things are. I think. I mean, 20,000 today for a day game. You know, it's going to sell out this weekend. It's country weekend, whatever that means. So yeah, the fans are showing up, so that's fine enough for them. If they make a playoff spot, that's just a happy accident for this organization.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at what the offense has done, I mean, look at the performance a couple of nights ago by Ryan O'Hearn.
Oh, legendary.
3 home runs,
What a
10
great signing
RBIs.
that was. Give him credit for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, once again, though, it was a cheap signing. Like, it wasn't, they didn't, and I will still complain when you look at who they said they were going to go get. They got none of those guys. They still haven't extended Brandon Lau. That contract's up at the end of the year.
He's been
I
great.
would have
Yep.
assumed at this point he would have been extended. He's not been. I mean, they were able to sign O'Hearn to a 2-year deal, which once again was safe because it's easy to move him based on the money that he took. But he's been, I think, an integral part to this team. Spencer Horwitz surprised me before he got injured. But you're looking at injuries too. Andy Rodriguez on the shelf again. Do we have any idea what's wrong with O'Neal Cruz? He seems to make it to the dugout every single day. Hasn't even started a rehab. I was hoping they could use him as trade bait at the deadline and maybe get a couple of arms because, honestly, I think with Valdez and Mangum, they might not have the explosiveness, the potential, the power, whatever, but at least they're safer out there. You don't have to worry about huge debacles coming from them as far as defensively. So they need a bat. I don't know what position. I don't know where. Maybe middle infield, maybe third base. Maybe you can move some guys around. If Griffin's not going to come back until September, you're going to need somebody to fill that space and that hole. They need a bat. They need, I think, a starting pitcher, and they need a couple of relievers that are legit relievers that can come in. Maybe they even need a closer. I don't see a closer on this team.
No,
I don't know what it's going to take to get one.
Yeah, there's a big wish list there, and yes, they do need a bat. Even though their offense has been a pleasant surprise this year, they could add another one. And yeah, they don't really have a closer. There's no one out of that bullpen that you're really confident with. Soto's been fine, the lefty. But yeah, I mean, there are holes here, and the injuries. Every team in every sport deals with it, but they're mounting up. And this division used to be really bad when the Pirates were also bad. Now they're average. The division's really good, so you're not going to catch Milwaukee. So if you're going to get a wild card spot, they do need to add. And yeah, that's a big wish list. That you said they need a starting arm, a bat, and a bullpen arm. I don't know if they're going to get all that. The question is, will they get any of it, or will they even attempt to?
Well, my thought is you're going to miss a month, close to 2 months. Probably 2 months with Griffin.
Oh,
who knows
yeah,
when or if
September.
Cruz is coming back at all.
Yeah.
So you're throwing out those two guys. So you need a bat. You can't run Bubba Chandler in September if he doesn't get any better in the rotation. So you're going to need somebody that's an upgrade there. And like I said, with the bullpen, whoever comes in next when you got guys on 70 pitch count, and whoever's going to try to finish a game out, you're going to need at least two there. I look at it, 4 guys that you're going to have to bring in if you're serious. Or you just let it run its course, see what you have, maybe bring up a couple of those kids from Indianapolis again, see if maybe Barco comes in and becomes a starter, maybe Harrington comes in and becomes a long reliever. Maybe you just go that route at this point. I mean, they clearly didn't have any interest in spending a ton of money in free agency in the off season, so we'll see what they add. But, I mean, you can't trade away potential to bring in expiring contracts so you have no intention to re-sign. You got to make it something that's going to be a part of this team because by the looks of it, this team could be around for a little while. I think you want to do all the right things here and make sure that happens. Looks like we're up to the top of the hour, very close to it. So I'm going to take a break. We'll get all the stuff we need to get done at the top of the hour, and then I'll get into the 2 Pirate controversies when we come back, and we'll talk some other sports too. Thanks for listening to the Sports Voice. Don't go anywhere. Hour 2 is coming up next.
All right, Dave, good to hear from you, sir. Good stuff. We will speak with you in a few minutes, and he's right, the news is next. Local news, national news before that at your local station, 590 AM, 101.1 FM, W266 DB, WMBS, Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Good afternoon. It's 5 o'clock.
They're connecting the dots in court. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. After previously detailing surveillance camera footage from Utah Valley University on the day of Charlie Kirk's killing, prosecutors today playing parts of the videotaped interview between investigators and Lance Twiggs, the former roommate and lover of accused assassin Tyler Robinson, who was shown photos of the surveillance footage during that interview.
It definitely, especially the bottom, the last 2 definitely do look like him.
And a moment later, clarifying.
They do look like Tyler Robinson.
Prosecutors also focusing on a possible confession and text messages between the two. Twiggs telling investigators that when he questioned Robinson in person the day after the killing, he said he wished he hadn't done it. It's day 4 of a preliminary hearing on probable cause for trial. Not clear yet what's next between the U.S. and Iran after 2 days of renewed strikes. Fox's Aisha Hasni at the White House.
The president certainly has a lot of options on the table when it comes to Iran, and as he contemplates what to do about the Iranians next, whether he can even really strike a long-lasting deal with this regime, the Iranians are spilling onto the streets in Iran and threatening to kill him.
This on the final day of the funeral for Iran's slain supreme leader. More potential candidates lining up to challenge Republican Senator Susan Collins in Maine after Democratic nominee Graham Plattner suspended his campaign while still denying a rape allegation.
Following an emergency Wednesday night meeting, state Democratic Party leaders said they voted to hold a special 600-person nominating convention to fill the vacancy. Maine law dictates a July 27th deadline to replace Plattner on the ballot.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Plattner still needs to file the paperwork to officially withdraw. The deadline for that is Monday. But he and some of his supporters are criticizing using delegates instead of voters to pick a replacement. America is listening to Fox News.
Join WMBS for a special live broadcast from the Fayette County Firefighters Convention at the Perry Township Volunteer Fire Department in Perryopolis on Monday, July 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. Hi, I'm TJ DeStefano. Brian Morozak and Ron Berry will join me as we celebrate our local heroes. Our broadcast is sponsored by the Ely McRory Funeral Home in Fayette City. That's a special live broadcast from the Fayette County Firefighters Convention, Monday, July 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Perry Township Volunteer Fire Department in Perryopolis. Stop by and spin the famous prize wheel and say hello. The Fayette County firefighters remind you to commit to serve our community with the same compassion and respect that our firefighters display every day. We will see you on Monday, July 13th at the Perry Township Volunteer Fire Department with a live broadcast courtesy of the Ely McRory Funeral Home in Fayette City.
4 people are accused of witness intimidation near Mobile, Alabama, in a case that includes an apparent voodoo ritual.
The FBI says convicted drug dealer John Mathurin and 3 co-defendants face additional charges of conspiracy to tamper with a witness who helped prosecutors in the case. An affidavit lays out an alleged plot to target the witness. We're told on one of the defendants' phones that images were found of the witness, the judge in the case, and the prosecutor, depicted in what appears to be a voodoo ritual, with a machete being stabbed through the witness's photo and candles being lit. The FBI also says there was talk of putting a GPS tracker on the witness's car, all in an alleged effort to not have the witness testify in the case.
Fox's Jeff Manasso just getting word that the oldest woman to fly in space has died. Wally Funk was 87, an aviation pioneer. Her caregiver just announcing her death in Texas, where she had an apartment in an assisted living facility. Funk was one of 13 female pilots who went through the same test as NASA's all-male astronaut corps in the early 1960s, but never made it to space until 2021 aboard Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket. She had an 80s hit that transcends time. Bonnie Tyler has died.
Once upon a time there was light in my life, but now there's only love in the dark. Nothing I can say, a total eclipse of the heart.
One of the best-selling singles of all time, and it made her the first person from Wales to top the U.S. charts. Another hit holding out for a hero originally recorded for the film Footloose, 2 decades later appearing in Shrek 2. Bonnie Tyler was 75. She died after being hospitalized for an undisclosed illness earlier this year in Portugal. A partial rebound for the Dow, up 139 points. The NASDAQ up more than 300. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The award-winning local, district, and statewide news is being brought to you by Ultimate Structures, offering customized sheds, cabins, and metal buildings. Ultimate Structures is ready to design what you desire. Call today, 724-415-0020.
Good afternoon. Sunny on this Thursday. I'm Nick Barczyk. It is 5:05. And that temperature right now, as we update things here, is at 78 with a flood watch through 10 this evening. Chance of some Showers this evening and storms the next few hours, tapering off by about 7 or 8. Actually looking mostly going to be dry, maybe some rain in the early morning. Much more on the Weather Watch and sports in just a bit. But the Story Square Summer Concert Series for this evening has been canceled. Once again, the Story Square Summer Concert Series for Uniontown is off this evening. A Fayette County arrest has renewed debate over civilian groups that poses children online to identify suspected sexual predators. In this case, 47-year-old Robert Jordan of Fayette County was charged after allegedly arranging to meet with what he believed was a 12-year-old in Uniontown who was actually a decoy working with the group Predator Poachers before evidence was turned over to police. While some prosecutors say these groups offer and provide valuable leads and evidence, others argue their tactics can jeopardize investigations, lead to dismissed cases, and create public safety risks by confronting suspects without law enforcement involvement. Pennsylvania is receiving a payout as part of a multi-state lawsuit against Cash App. Pennsylvania Attorney General Dave Sunday announced the settlement of over $1 million this week. 46 states sued Cash App's parent company Block, claiming they were not truthful about the app's safety and insurance coverage, went out on a refund protections, and wrongfully froze user accounts. Block has agreed to pay out a total settlement of $45 million. The money received by Pennsylvania will be used to protect and educate the public in the future. The federal government is threatening to file charges against the top election official in the state of Pennsylvania over claims of non-citizens being on voter rolls. The U.S. Department of Justice recently sent a letter to Secretary of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Al Schmidt, and it shows specific requirements for compliance with federal law on prohibiting non-citizens from voting in the state. This week, the DOJ appealed the dismissal of a lawsuit seeking to obtain Pennsylvania's voter data. The name Schmidt is the defendant. The Pennsylvania Department of State said it is in full compliance with federal and state election law and will continue its nonpartisan work to ensure elections in the state of Pennsylvania remain free, fair, safe, and secure. A Delaware County man was taken into custody last night after making a verbal threat to commit arson at Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence. 65-year-old Richard Franklin is charged with terroristic threats, ethnic intimidation, harassment, and disorderly conduct. This week, Franklin visited State Representative Leanne Kruger's district office in Brookhaven and tried to get assistance about paying outstanding taxes. While speaking to a staff member, Franklin allegedly used an anti-Semitic slur and made a threat to burn the Pennsylvania governor's mansion in Harrisburg down. The man was unable to post $100,000 monetary bail and is set for a preliminary hearing next week. And newly released government data shows airlines' jet fuel costs are up this year. And with more on that, Tammy Trujillo.
According to the data, the Bureau of Transportation Statistics found that airlines spent $6.6 billion on jet fuel in May, marking an 84% increase from 1 year ago. Fuel is one of the industry's biggest operating expenses, and higher costs have forced carriers to raise fares. The latest figures reflect the vulnerabilities airlines faced due to the Strait of Hormuz closure disrupting global maritime shipping. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
And most Americans still think that immigration is a good thing for the USA.
73% believe immigration is good for America. That's down from the record high 79% in last year's survey by Gallup. Even with the dip, support remains above the 25-year average of 67%. Along party lines, 91% of Democrats say immigration is a positive. 73% of independents feel that same way. And there was a 14-point drop among Republicans who support immigration. It's now down to 50%. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Sports and weather next on WNPS.
So what's the difference between the sheds I see in the parking lot of the big box stores and a professionally built and installed JDM Structures shed from Ultimate Structures? Good question. First, the manufacturer, JDM Structures, is one of the premier shed builders in business for 34 years. They use composite materials for the exterior with baked-on paint. This ensures you'll have an extended lifespan for your shed. And listen to this. 75% of Ultimate Structures orders are personally designed to satisfy the customer's needs. That's right. And the turnaround time for a custom designed shed is no longer than just buying a stock shed. Compare the roof designs, the superior piano door hinges, the quality of the wall panels, and personal customer service. You'll see. Come to the Mega Lot on Route 51 South, just outside Perryopolis. You need a shed? We can help. We design what you desire. Ultimate Structures.
In sports. sports this afternoon up at PNC. The Braves beat the Pirates 10-5. Grand slam for Yastrzemski in the ninth inning for Atlanta as they take 2 at 3. Bucks are now at 47 and 47 after the loss this afternoon, taking on the Brewers at tomorrow night, Friday night at 6:15 on WMPS.
So what's the difference between the sheds I see in the parking lot of the big box stores and a professionally built and installed JDM structure shed from Ultimate Structures?
The local district and statewide news was brought to you by Ultimate Structures, just outside of Perryopolis on Route 51 southbound. Call them today at 724-415-0020 to find the shed, cabin, or metal building that meets your needs.
This weather report being brought to you by Montgomery Medical. Trust their 50 years of combined experience for the best results in primary care, newborns to elderly, minor illness or injury, as well as wellness and physical exams. And now the weather.
We're still under a flood watch for the next 5 hours or so until 10 this evening. Do have a chance of rain late tonight into the morning tomorrow. Low at 70 tonight. Low Friday, clouds and 79, 81 with clouds on Saturday. Then sunny Sunday at 85, then back into a very hot stretch. 87 Monday with sun, back into the 90s. Tuesday at 91 and 94 Wednesday. Right now sunny and 77 at 5:11 on this Thursday. Good afternoon. I'm Nick Barczyk. More of the Sports Voice with Dave Dunaway next after the Stock Report on WMPS.
This weather report was brought to you by Montgomery Medical, a family tradition of family medicine. Same-day appointments available for acute care. Call 724-569-8100 or visit montymed.com to schedule your appointment.
Good evening. This is Mike Gutierrez of Janney Montgomery Scott here in Uniontown, bringing you today's closing stock market report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 139 points, closing at 52,487. The NASDAQ Composite was up 336.2 points, closing at 26,207. And the S&P 500 Index was up 55 points, closing at 7,538. Among companies of local interest, Apple, $316.22, up $2.83. Amazon, $247.04, up $3.42. Cisco, $118.31, up $4.49. Boeing, $223.11, down $1.84. Caterpillar, $938.14, down $9.94. Disney, $96.17, down 53 cents. ExxonMobil, $137.37, down $3.76. First Energy, $47.62, down 48 cents. Johnson & Johnson, $259.10, down $4.30. Home Depot, $338.71, up $2.50. Intel, $112.54, up $2.30. McDonald's, $276.48, down $1.77. Meta Platforms, $631.48, up $28.36. PNC Financial Services, $250.90, up $4.37. Raytheon Technologies, $195.19, up 28 cents. Rockwell Automation, $467.57, up $3.96. Tesla, $406.55, up $12.49. Verizon, $42.22, down 23 cents. And Walmart, $112.21, down 89 cents. Recapping, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 139 points, closing at 52,487. The NASDAQ Composite was up 336.2 points, closing at 26,207. And the S&P 500 Index was up 56.6 points, closing at 7,539. From the Uniontown office of Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC, where we serve all of your investment needs. This is Mike Gutierrez.
Join the Smithfield Borough for the 250th anniversary celebration on Saturday, July 11th at the Smithfield Fire Department parking lot from 4 to 9 p.m. Enjoy delicious food trucks, penny carnival games, and live music with the DJ from 4 to 7 p.m. Then as the sun sets, get ready for a spectacular fireworks display at dusk presented by Peak Pyro by Kellner's LLC. Don't miss the Smithfield Borough 250th anniversary celebration, Saturday, July 11th. Rain date is Sunday, July 12th. Brought to you by Smithfield Borough and Smithfield Stepping Forward.
Is it time for your first home? Or time to trade up to a home that fits your lifestyle? It's time to visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with trade-in and trade-up deals. Imagine beautiful, new, energy-efficient homes packed with the features you've been dreaming about. Trade in and trade up at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51. Trade-in value toward purchase of a new home determined by resale value and evaluation by home center manager. Additional deposit may be required.
Bright Stripe, Bay County's premier asphalt seal coating professionals, locally owned by Matt and Lexi George. Bright Stripe specializes in residential and commercial asphalt seal coating, also excelling in line striping and layouts, thermoplastic, and infrared asphalt repair. Bright Stripe has succeeded due to their commitment to quality work for 30 years. Bright Stripe, 724-437-6090, or visit bright-stripe.com. BRITE-stripe.com.
This July, freedom comes with four-wheel drive at Live Casino. Celebrate 250 years of winning with a new Ford Bronco. Earn entries daily July 1st through the 25th for a chance to win a share of $30,000 in free play prizes. 10 winners every Saturday. And on July 25th, one big winner will ride off in a new Ford Bronco Strop Edition. Let freedom ride at Live Casino, Route 30 at Westmoreland Mall. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The sun will come out.
Leapin' Lizards! Main Street Theater Company presents that irrepressible comic book heroine, Annie, July 9th, 10th, and 11th at 7 p.m. and July 12th at 2. Winner of 7 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, Annie features some of the greatest musical hits ever written. You can bet your bottom dollar this must-see classic is perfect for the entire family. Annie, July 9th to the 12th at the State Theater. Get tickets online at statetheater.info or call 724-439-1360.
Your local station, 590 WMBS. I hear voices in my head.
Welcome to part 2 of the Sports Voice. Ahead on this hour, I teased it at the beginning, a couple of areas of controversy that have shown themselves this week for your Pittsburgh Pirates. I spent the time that I had in the first hour basically just trying to digest the 2 losses in a row the Pirates have suffered to the Atlanta Braves. I think 2 potentially winnable games for this team. They come out on fire in the first one after taking the last 2 from the Washington Nationals. And you have these stretches where I think the Pirates do make you think they are a legit playoff team and can actually do something when they get there. The day of the play-in is over in Major League Baseball. I think you give this team a series, who knows what could potentially happen. Figures they actually get an ace pitcher in Paul Skeens, then they get rid of the play-in. If they'd have had him in 13, 14, and 15, who knows where this team would have been in the grand scheme of things. But we talked a little bit about the trade deadline. If some of you are just tuning in, sort of what they might need. Ben Cherington did come out today and say that the plan is to add to this team, which is good. At least they're not going to be subtracting anything like normal come the end of July. So it's just a matter of what they can potentially get. It's tough. When you look at Major League Baseball, you add these extra wild cards, there are a lot of teams that are still in the playoff chase. There are very few teams that can legitimately look and say, hey, we're out of this, and maybe we'll try to do something here. The rumors have been circulating this, is it Goodman from Colorado, who's got 20-plus home runs, that could be potentially the bat that the Pirates add at this deadline. But it's hard to say. I mean, really, Colorado might be the only team that has no shot at making the playoffs in the National League. So you don't have the availability of players that you used to have either, which certainly doesn't make it any easier. We'll talk Pirates, and then we'll talk all the sports I've been watching for the last 3 weeks because, when you're just sitting around, there's not much on that you can watch kind of all day long. But I've gotten into tennis a little bit. I actually got into tennis. The soccer I've watched a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm into it. I'm still trying to figure it out a little bit. The WNBA, I had that on for about 3 seconds. So I'll let Nick give us the rundown of what's going on there. Apparently controversy there in regards to Caton Clark and it making some sort of national headline now.
Congress getting involved because they have nothing else to worry about.
We've got the government involved in whether or not Caitlin Clark's being targeted on a WNBA court inside a casino. So, yeah, a lot to get to with that. The NBA had their free agency. We didn't have time last week. I was going to try to let Bill do the NBA roundup, but we ran out of time. I was a little bit slower. It was my first time back in weeks, so I went to the wire. But I'm sure you've got a lot to tell us. LeBron, we know, is going to be on the move. We don't know where yet exactly, but a lot of big names in different places in the NBA. And, we're less than a month away from training camp in the National Football League as well. Not that there's a ton of news out there revolving around really anything football outside of the wedding that you attended last week. But you give it a couple weeks, it's going to be all football all the time again as well. So there's never a shortage for stories. Doesn't matter. I mean, you could be early July where we are right now, or you could be in the heart of the NFL season in November, and you've got stuff that can take you well past the 2-hour time limit that we have here for the Sports Voice. Nick, we talked a lot about the Pirates in the first segment that we had right before we went to break, but I didn't really get into these two other stories, and I think they're important enough to at least warrant some time. And I'm going to start with Connor Griffin. Connor Griffin in itself is an interesting story. If Connor Griffin did not sign the contract that he signed, there's a real good shot he would still be in Indianapolis right now, as we allow the clock to tick, to give a little more protection, to give a little more time that you have this guy. But he signs the big contract, comes up to Major League Baseball almost immediately. He's hitting in the 270s. Not a surprise. The guy's hit everywhere he's been. That's not someone that I looked at and thought to myself, boy, they're going to struggle when they come up here. Not in talk for Rookie of the Year or anything like that. That looks like that's pretty much being handed to J.J. Weatherholt, the West Virginia product and Mars product at this point. But I think Griffin has held his own with the time that he's had in Major League Baseball. Had an injury with the forearm a little bit earlier. Now another injury has emerged. Apparently there's some sort of damaged tendon in his ring finger, and Connor Griffin has been told by the Pittsburgh Pirates that they would prefer for him to rehab this, which is going to take the better part of 2 months. There's a good possibility that we're not going to see Connor Griffin until at least early September. Then reports come out after where you're hearing that other athletes, baseball players included, have had this injury in the past, and they just play through it and wait until the off season and then do their rehab then. Now, you start to ask questions, well, then why would the Pirates not do this with Griffin? Well, it's an easy answer. Just look at his contract. That's why they're not doing it. Bob Nutting wants to get every single cent out of this contract, and he would rather give up maybe a couple of months now instead of it potentially getting worse and maybe costing them an entire year with him in the foreseeable future. Is it the right move? Maybe. I mean, you've got to think of the health of this guy too. But if others are playing through it that are lesser talent, that aren't making the money that Griffin's making, I mean, it comes down to a lot of what we were talking about in the first segment. Is this a playoff team or not? I think with Connor Griffin, they are. I think without Connor Griffin right now, they're not. I mean, what do you have in his place? You're going to play Jared Triolo all day, every day, who's barely hitting 230. Your top pitcher, Tyler Callahan, who's really struggled at the plate recently. I mean, I just don't see an answer there. There's not a replacement for Griffin. If you're really serious about making a playoff push, I think you let this kid play through it, which they're clearly not going to do. So back to what we said, if there's a bat you're going to add, that might be where you need to add it. I mean, Gonzalez can play second, Lau can play short. You can move those guys around if you need to. You've got O'Hearn at first. Horwitz will be back, who I'm assuming will be playing first whenever he comes back. Maybe third base. Maybe you look there. Gonzalez looked good on second the other day. Maybe you look there and say, hey, there's some power out there. But once again, Nick, it goes back to what I said at the top here. How many teams are eliminated that would even be willing to part with a legit power starting player, to help a team like the Pirates, who they might be in competition with for this last wild card spot. I don't think, when you go back in time and you look at what was out there at the trade deadline, you could literally fill all your needs. I think now you're the end of July and you've got a bunch of teams that are still in contention. I think it's going to be slim pickings with what's going to be available.
Yeah, absolutely. And Griffin, yeah, it's a shame. And he came up and comes off the injured list. It's a home run, his first at bat. Now goes back on it. He's out basically for the rest of the year. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but you have to move on. You have to adjust with injuries. And yeah, they do need another bat in that lineup with Griffin out, with O'Neill Cruz still out. And yeah, they're scoring more runs than we thought. They're getting more hits, getting on base more than we thought. But yeah, if they do want to make a playoff run, they have to get another bat in there. And with Griffin, you're right. That's a great point. If he had not signed that big monster decade-long deal, he'd still be at AAA. And we wouldn't, he'd be dealing with these injuries, but certainly wouldn't be affecting the major league team like it is. So yeah, he's out. You have to deal with it. And that's about 2 months. That takes you to September. And you got to win games between now and then. And, I would go out and pursue a bat to fill that hole, but who knows? They're going to probably stay pat because, acquiring talent takes money and it takes effort, and I'm not sure if they're willing to do that, so we'll see what they do.
And you certainly can't go out and get a rental. Like,
No.
you can't go out and get someone. You don't have enough young talent to start trading that away to bring in guys that are not going to be part of this team beyond this year. So you've got to be careful with that, too. But like I said, the biggest problem I see, there are too many teams that are still potentially playoff teams.
Oh.
They're not going to be sellers if they're still in contention.
Yeah, the whole league, and the Rockies may be the only team. And you're right, Hunter Goodman's been a great story, and you're right about J.J. Weatherholt for St. Louis, Rookie of the Year, most likely the WVU product. So, yeah, it's been a great year in Major League Baseball. The National League is loaded, and with the expanded postseason, which, I'm generally against in most sports, it has made the baseball regular season a bit more interesting because you have so many teams still in it. Mathematically, I mean, it's only July, so I guess mathematically every team's alive, but in theoretically, every team's pretty much still alive here as we go to the All-Star break, so it's been a lot of fun.
The player I could see the Pirates maybe trying to make a push for is Duran from Boston.
Yep.
Boston's kind of out of it. They
They
don't want
are.
to spend really any money. But I think when you look at that Pirate outfield, I mean, you've got to take a look. I mean, you've got to seriously, and I think he's going to struggle over a short period of time, but I think he's a legit major leaguer. You've got to look at Esmeralda Valdez. And Mangum's hitting over 300. I know there's not a lot of power, but I think defensively both guys are pretty solid. And then you got Reynolds, who I think is having an all-star season, hitting in the 280s, 14 home runs, hit a home run today. Is outfield really the area? I mean, they're struggling with trying to find a place for O'Hearn. You've got Ozuna, who's kind of locked into that DH spot because he can't play anywhere else. Outfield maybe is a little crowded right now for the Pirates. I think that spot has to come on the infield. I think Duran, Goodman, those are great names when you talk about, but I don't know where you put them or at the expense of maybe some things that are going well right now for this Pirate team. I think you got to look potentially at third or first base and see if you can find something, although they've got double-digit home runs out of Horwitz at first. Catcher's another spot. I mean, you've got Endy out now. Henry Davis isn't hitting 150. You bring Flores up, who knows what you're going to get out of him. I mean, catcher's a spot, too, I think, that you could look at and say, potentially there needs to be an upgrade. Endy's been hurt his entire career. What faith can you put in him coming back and really lasting for any length of time when he gets there as well? So I think there's a lot more questions than answers right now, and I don't think there's going to be a lot to choose from. They might seriously have to think about moving the trade deadline now that so many teams are eligible with these extra postseason spots, just to make it a little more interesting to be able to acquire some talent. But Duran was the name that came up first. They've talked about him before. But what's it going to take to get him? And do you mortgage that to, try to make a push at what? You're not going to win a World Series this year. I mean, Milwaukee is absolutely fantastic. The Dodgers are out of this world. The Dodgers have a whole team, a whole starting lineup and rotation of guys that are injured. and yet they're
Right.
still almost 30 games over 500.
And of all stars,
So, I mean, you're
yes.
not-
Their team's
Yeah.
an all-star roster.
The guys that are hurt are an all-star roster.
Right.
You start looking at guys that have been out of this lineup for a length of time. Those are major contenders. So I wonder, if I'm the Pirates, what do I do here? You definitely want to add, but you got to watch what you give up because you're not really making a push for much more than a wild card series, and maybe not anything beyond that. So I do question the decision with Griffin. I mean, I do and I don't. I understand why they're doing it because that is the guy they invested in. But if you're serious about making the playoffs and just about every other person with this injury just plays through it, it raises a red flag. And we know this, being from the area, it's all about money with this guy anyways in business, and it's not really about the team and winning and any of that. But now you've got a team that kind of is winning, and you're just kind of throwing it all away here. But I question the other injury that Griffin had because he came back from it pretty quick. I wonder if he really needed to miss time with the forearm or if it was just all precautionary. So I think we know they're going to baby him through the duration of this contract. Well, at least till it gets to the end, then they're probably going to try to trade him. But at least early on in this thing, they're going to be overly cautious, I think, with Connor Griffin, and everybody just has to expect that moving forward.
Yeah, it's about what you prioritize as an organization. Is it winning this year? Is it saving your big investment? And obviously with Griffin, they want to save their big investment. Look at Jared Jones last night coming off the injury, pitching a perfect game, only threw 80 pitches, and he's pulled after the 6th inning. And that's a baseball-wide thing now. You're going to, I don't know if baby's the right word, but certainly take care of your young investments, and Griffin is their big young investment. So I understand the fans' frustration, but, maybe this could have been the year you focus on this year and winning playoff series and at least getting there. But no, they want to look to the future. It's all about the future. But in this case, I do get it with the investment they put on Griffin. So it's frustrating, I'm sure, to a lot of fans, but I get it.
The other area of controversy actually is what you just brought up, this whole thing with Jared Jones last night.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot of ire among the fan base on this. Brian Morozak this morning sent me a graphic that said in close to the first 90-some years of baseball, there was never a pitcher that was pulled while pitching a perfect game. Then over the next maybe 20 years or so, there were 3, and then this week there were 2. And when you look at it, it's nonsense when you think about it. But you look at Jared Jones. We know what he's coming off of. He's coming off of a pretty severe injury that required Tommy John. There was talk that he wasn't going to play for 2 years. So the fact that he came back in May, I think maybe some people were a little bit surprised that was happening, that he was able to come back and be part of this rotation again. He's been hit or miss. We talked about that in the last hour. It's been sort of, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. But last night, he's mowing down the Atlanta Braves. He had 8 strikeouts, a lot of ground balls, and through 6 innings, he's only got 77 pitches. And we've been trained in today's day and age of Major League Baseball, that magic number of 100. So if he was at 100, I don't think there would have been as much ire coming from the fan base. But I think looking at the state of this bullpen and how well he was pitching, and he certainly did not look happy when he was told he was done after 6 innings, but it was sort of agreed upon between management and the coaching staff that he's going to be eased in as part of this recovery that he's on. This was Tommy John, which is, we hear all about it. We've heard about it for years. We do know that guys a lot of times come back stronger than they were before from the surgery, but it does take a little bit of time with the elbow to get it to where it needs to be. Then you start to do a little research, and you find out just a couple of days ago, Yuri Perez from Miami, also coming off Tommy John surgery, was pulled after 7 perfect innings. He at least had 92 pitches under his belt before they took him out. But this seems to be the way of Major League Baseball right now. And both young star pitchers, at least in the eyes of their organizations. But you look at a guy like Jared Jones, and there was question marks as to whether or not he even deserved to be in the rotation coming back based on the performance of Carmen Mlodzinski in that role earlier this year. And there was controversy there where Mlodzinski was put on the restricted list for a few days because they may or may not have refused to go to the bullpen. We know he was running his mouth. They had asked Jones about the pen, and he basically said, next question. So, it's a lot going on here. But I think when you look at last night, once again, Nick, we get down to, is this a playoff team or isn't this a playoff team? You've got to think of the health of the guy, but you also got to think of the bullpen coming in after. Was this the right call to take Jones out after 6? You at least give him another inning, let him get into the 80s or 90s. Was this just a little bit too fast?
Yes, it was, and I understand not caring as much about history as we used to, and perfect games maybe don't have the allure or aura around them, but I think it's still a big deal. And even coming off an injury, he's a young guy, can rest over the All-Star break, and 80 pitches is nothing. He was pitching a perfect game, not even a no-hitter. He had not allowed a base runner against a very good Atlanta lineup, and that's something to be very proud and happy about. But they take him out, and immediately, who gives up the hit? Matz, and the crowd's booing. So it's
no, it was Montgomery.
Montgomery, that's right, Montgomery. He had the lefty. So I knew it was an M. But the crowd there assembled last night, 20,000. I guess that's decent for a weeknight. Could be more, but that's a whole other issue. They're not happy. It's just not a good look. And you're right, Major League Baseball, it's in a different phase right now. They've made a lot of good changes, but this is not a good one. This constantly watching pitch counts and babying, for lack of a better term, these pitchers. You're right. The first 90 years of the sport, it's a no-brainer. You're going for that history. You're going for that perfection. But last night and in other instances, they don't care about that anymore. It's about saving their investments and making sure these guys' arms don't fall off. But I've never heard of a pitcher's arm literally falling off. Or look, and Jones has had a rough time of it. The injury gets hit by the line drive in Denver a few weeks ago in the same exact arm. But this could have been a bright spot for him. But I don't know if he put up too much of a fight either. I think that's another issue. They just seem to roll over these pitchers and accept their fate.
Well, you look in that first 90 years of baseball, too, these guys were making basically peanuts.
Right.
Most of them had to go and do other jobs in the offseason. So the investment from ownership just really wasn't there like it is now. Now everybody's making millions of dollars, and the ownership sits back and says, I'm not going to take a chance that this guy's going to miss 2 years maybe of time or, an entire season next year. Let's play it safe. Let's do it this way. Let's try to keep them, around and healthy because I'm paying them, $1 million, $10 million, whatever it is that you're giving these guys in today's day and age. It's not just the Pirates that do this stuff. This has sort of been the way of Major League Baseball, and you can go through any team and you're looking at analytics, like all the things that we complain about because we've watched baseball for years and this stuff didn't exist back then. Now it's this change, and it doesn't seem like it's a change for the better, and it seems like a more frustrating sport that's out there now than what we've seen in the past. But I think it's because there's more money involved. You've got TV that really is a driving force. We saw NBC on the 4th of July paid who knows how much money to literally have every single Major League game, whether it was on NBC, Peacock, wherever they were putting it. They literally had it everywhere. So money is just being thrown out by these networks and streaming services, and ownership wants to make sure they capitalize on it. If you don't have the stars, you're not going to be coveted to be on national TV, and that's where the real money comes from, more than what you're going to get to be on Pittsburgh Sportsnet or, one of the local, area TV stations that you're going to get. So I get it. It's all about big money. But we've seen it ruin things. I think, baseball was maybe kind of the last holdout with that because they had all these local TV deals. They were the only game in town for months. And then all of these little networks started to go bankrupt. Major League Baseball Network took over the bulk of the service and then outsourced it to all these streaming services. I mean, sometimes you just get to a point. We saw it absolutely destroy NASCAR. Hockey, I mean, you can't even find hockey anymore. ESPN takes it and buries it on their streaming service. Football, now you're trying to watch, you've got to get about 10 subscriptions just to make sure you can watch every NFL game. You're starting to run into that in baseball, which was kind of the last, America's sport. We've got the hometown networks broadcasting all of our games. They were kind of the last holdout on that, and now they've gone big money too. And the bigger stage you can get yourself on. We talked about that, for the last couple of years with the Pirates and Skeens and how angry Major League Baseball was because they don't make the playoffs. They're not good enough through the lineup to be on the Field of Dreams game or anything like that. Basically, you got to make Skeens an all-star because that's the only way people are going to be able to see him nationally. And, well, they did make him an all-star, and now he's not going to play. But, in the end, that's kind of where you are. And teams are doing things like what we're seeing with Griffin and Jones. And I get why people are mad. I'm mad. I enjoy watching Connor Griffin. That's one of the main reasons I've watched the Pirates as much as I have this year. But you kind of get it from the ownership standpoint, too, because that's your investment, and you play around with it. It could end up costing you more time than the 2 months it's going to cost them now to allow him to rehab.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right about basically everything you said there, if not all of it. So, yeah, Griffin being out hurts, and he's a young talent who you want to see play, but they don't want to risk it for the long term, and I understand that. It's not necessarily about this year that the fans want it to be. You're right, at 500 going into the All-Star break, so you think, all right, maybe risk long-term injury to make the playoffs this year. They're just not going to do that, so that's the way it is. And other points you made about the streaming issues are valid as well. Major League Baseball, the game Sunday's on a streaming service, not on local TV. So if you want to watch Mizorowski against Skeens, you might have to go to the ballpark if you don't want to get Peacock. So that's the world we live in, Dave.
You knew they were going to, if you could get those two guys on the mound against each other, you knew the bidding war was going to start for where they were going to put that thing.
Right, and I'm sure baseball would like to see them in the All-Star game, but it's not going to happen. So, oh well.
No, that was kind of one of the last tidbits, and honestly, that makes sense. Like if you're the Brewers and you're the Pirates, those are your two best pitchers. They should be pitching in a regular season game, not an exhibition, not a game that means nothing, where they're each going to get an inning. And that's kind of what the All-Star game has devolved into. It doesn't stand for anything. It doesn't mean anything. You don't even get home field advantage in the World Series anymore if you win it. That was, by the way, a huge joke when that was a thing. But I think when you look at the All-Star, and when Paul Skeens was named an All-Star, he really was surprised. And he kind of said that. That's the one thing I really like about Paul Skeens. He just says whatever's on his mind. And he said he was shocked that he was named an All-Star. He was 6-8 at the time. Like, what justifies him being the All-Star for the Pittsburgh Pirates? Well, we know what justifies it. You've got a star, the reigning Cy Young winner, if you're Major League Baseball, on the mound, which is going to get people to tune in and watch this game. Braxton Ashcraft was the guy I thought should have been the All-Star from the beginning. It was announced today that he will be the All-Star since Skeens is pitching on Sunday, will not be available to pitch in the All-Star game. Braxton Ashcraft, 9 wins already for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He will be the Pittsburgh Pirate All-Star, and probably he's pitching tomorrow, so I would assume he actually gets into the game and pitches an inning on Tuesday. So congratulations to Braxton Ashcraft for that. Nick, I thought a couple of snubs, and I thought Brian Reynolds was a snub. We've been kind of back and forth on Reynolds for the last couple of years. He's the highest paid guy, leads them in everything, but mediocre for the most part.
Yeah.
I know he had that.
Yeah.
He had that torrid June, but he really hasn't cooled off in July. So he's about as hot as you're going to see Brian Reynolds at this point. I thought it could have been justified for him to be an All-Star, but the guy that I really thought, I know the average isn't there, and we'll talk for a couple of minutes too about whether or not the Pirates need to extend some sort of contract offer. Brandon Lau is the guy I really thought should have been an All-Star as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
They talked a lot about Albies starting, but there's nothing you can do about that. That's voted by the fans. As long as they're going to have the fans do that, you're going to have guys maybe that are a little less deserving. And I think Albies is an All-Star, but I think Lau is more deserving to be an All-Star this year. But I think that was the big snub. I don't understand why the Pirates only had one this year. I thought both Ashcraft and Lau should have been All-Stars. 20 home runs, that's unheard of for a Pirate second baseman. Actually, most years for a Pirate coming in before the All-Star break. But, the big question now with Lau is he was acquired in a trade cheap because he's on an expiring contract. By the way, Mangum came in that trade as well. When are they going to offer? Are you going to wait till the offseason I mean, this should be a done deal right now. The Pirates should say, hey, thanks for everything you've done for us right now. We want to give you a 4-year deal, and let him sign it before he hits 20 more home runs before the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, they made some great offseason acquisitions. Mangum, O'Hearn, that historic game he had the other night. Lau should have been an all-star, you're right, coming over from my Rays. But, yeah, I mean, it'll all be for nothing if they don't offer any extensions to these guys. So, I mean, if they're just rentals and they don't even make the playoffs, then it was all for nothing. And you're right, Lau should be in that all-star game. They should extend him. But I question whether they will even make an offer. So that's the Pirates. We have to live in skepticism with them. At least we do.
It is. As much as they try to make you forget who they really are, they hope you get kind of sucked up in this winning that's going on. And, 47 and 47, we'll see. I mean, there's 3 games this weekend with Milwaukee, so they're either going to be over 500 or under 500 when it comes to the All-Star break. So we'll see where they are. But
they're not winning Sunday. I mean, how many hits do they get against Miz on Sunday, do you think?
I don't know.
He's so
I
good.
just
He's the
one
new
of those
Skeens.
things.
I hate to put Skeens out to pasture, but he's the new Skeens.
It's one of those things now when I watch the Pirates, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, the offense is
right.
It's interesting, and I think it's a little unpredictable. I don't know. I
He's so
didn't think
dominant,
Merlin
though.
Valdez
He's
would
so-
come up and do what he's doing. I didn't think
Right.
Mangum would hit over 300.
Right.
Like, there are things going on. I'm like, I didn't think Horwitz would have double-digit home runs. I mean, he's on the injured list right now. I didn't think O'Hearn would be where he is at this point. So the offense has surprised me. The pitching has surprised me, too, in a negative way.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll have a lot to talk about next week. We'll see if they're over or under 500. This, Atlanta, Washington, a team they're in contention for this wild card. Milwaukee, start to see how they play against the better teams, and I think that'll be a good indication as to where they could potentially end up in the end. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have maybe close to 10 minutes or so. Well, maybe not, but we'll have some time. We'll talk about some other sports. There's some other things going on. So don't go anywhere. Nick's got his NBA and WNBA roundup. Maybe I'll do some tennis roundup for you. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
It's the perfect time to upgrade your outdoor area with a new fence from All Around Fence Company, conveniently located on Route 40 in Uniontown. All Around Fence has been installing quality residential, commercial, and farm fencing for more than 46 years. Offering residential fencing including chain link, decorative aluminum, steel, and more, All Around Fence has the fence for you. All Around Fence is also your one-stop shop for Neutrina products and carries Weaver equine and livestock supplies and Prefert farm equipment. So, if you need to upgrade an existing fence, add a new gate, or are considering the installation of new farm fencing, visit All Around Fence, open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 to 1, or give them a call at 724-439-0331. To learn more, visit allaroundfence.com.
Hey, you looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle? Well, look no more, because with over 200 vehicles, Gary's Auto Sales is the largest used car dealer in the area. Whether you want a car, a truck, or an SUV, you'll absolutely find what you're looking for at Gary's. Gary's has been in business since 1974. You can visit them online at Gary'sAutoSales.com, or you can give them a call at 724-626-8080. Gary's Auto Sales. Many miles, many smiles.
Hi, this is Dave Dunaway, and I'm here to remind you that Franco's Golf Center is open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. Stop by and see Franco's facility on Route 21 west of Uniontown. Franco's service area includes a lighted driving range and golf pro shop. Even my game has improved thanks to golf lessons with Franco's PGA instructors. Franco's also offers full custom club fitting and repairs by certified club fitter Greg Franco. Franco's is open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Give Franco's a call at 724-438-6651.
If you're ready for a dental makeover or in need of basic dental care, the office of Dr. Mark Rabatin is right for you. Dr. Rabatin uses the latest advancement in the industry to achieve comprehensive care that will preserve your smile for years to come by providing general dentistry services. Call today to schedule your appointment at their modern office, located in the Fayette Business Park, 724-437-4991, for the fine art of dentistry.
When you are looking to make some extra cash for your aluminum cans, visit Cherokee Recycling, where aluminum can is king. Cherokee Recycling is open Monday through Friday 9 to 4:30 and Saturdays 8 to 12 noon, closed Sundays and holidays. Give Marcus or Braggs a call today, 724-439-3228 for Cherokee Recycling, where recycling makes the most sense.
WMBS.
Welcome back to the Sports Voice. Well, we are at our final segment of the show. A few minutes left. I'll start with hockey. Not a lot happens. When you look at hockey and you look at free agency, the first day is a whirlwind, and then you could go weeks with nothing happening. And that's kind of where we are right now with what's being done in free agency. Anthony Mantha was looked at coming in as maybe the top free agent. He's still out there. So you've got some of these guys, Patrick Kane, they'll wait around a little bit. They'll find a fit. The guys that are going to want maybe a little more money than others, it does take a little bit of time. So hockey is quieted down quite a bit. And I will say last night it was cool to see at the Pirate game, the Penguins' top two draft picks this year, Liam and Marcus Ruck, the two twins, who apparently are like always together and never separated. They both threw out the first pitch. One's left-handed, one's right-handed. That was kind of cool. There was an interview done by Hannah Mears with them as the game went on. They seemed very excited. I think they're a ways off. They're coming from the WHL, not the OHL, so it's going to take a little longer for them to make their way through. But that's really the Penguin news at this point. There's still, the inkling of Jason Robertson, but I don't see anything that looks like it's breaking in that standpoint. He filed for arbitration, so I can't imagine you're going to see a situation like what we saw with Philadelphia. Well, absolutely crazy. Like, if you watch hockey or pay attention to hockey in any way, Philadelphia extended this huge offer sheet to restricted free agent from Anaheim, Leo Carlson, and Anaheim this morning matched it. Leo Carlson is now the highest paid player in the NHL, which is insane. Not that he's not a good player. He's a young player. He's got some injury issues, but he's not the name you're going to think of when you think of Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon. He's not the guy you're going to think should be the highest paid player in the National Hockey League. But, the Penguins could maybe do something like that with Robertson, but we've just not heard anything. They do have his brother, Nicholas Robertson, who apparently also filing for arbitration. So we'll see what happens there. But they did sign their restricted guys, Chinakhov, so that those players they do have back in the fold, back into the system. So it's just a matter of just kind of waiting around now to see what happens. Nick, I'll turn it over to you next. You want to do our NBA and WNBA roundup? What's going on in basketball?
Oh, well, a lot of things. First of all, congratulations to the world champion Knicks. Have not been on with you since they won it all. Can you believe it?
Right, we haven't been on.
Jalen Brunson, the MVP. They want to change the Hudson River to the Brunson River, which I think is adorable. Gotta love New York. But now we're in the offseason. Yes, LeBron, for being in his 40s, everyone wants him. Cleveland wants him. Philly wants him. He told the Lakers, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going out. So I've heard the 76ers linked to him. I've heard the Cavs, his old team that he won a title with. So we'll see where LeBron goes. He's the hottest.
And the Sixers just got Jaylen Brown. I think that's why we're hearing all these links to LeBron. Yeah.
Right. How about the Celtics trading away Jaylen Brown? That was big news. And Kawhi Leonard, he got traded back to the Raptors, his old team. But the NBA is stepping in. They're investigating that trade. I read today. I'm not sure. Maybe there's some funny.
Yeah, I heard that's on hold right now.
Yeah, that maybe he failed his physical. He's in his mid-30s now. But the Clippers, they're a weird organization. Maybe they're holding it up, but a lot going on. The WNBA, they have their All-Star game this weekend, which I guess it proves that the league has started their season because they have an All-Star game. You wouldn't have an All-Star game in the offseason. I thought maybe you were going to say they were having a draft again. I figured they have a draft like 3-4 times a year. The best part, Congress. Yes, the U.S. Congress, who many years ago got involved in steroids in baseball. Now they're getting involved with the WNBA is too mean to Caitlin Clark. Did
you see her get punched? How many weeks ago was that?
It's ridiculous. They do not protect. They don't protect her, and she's the face of the league, and she's the Tiger Woods of the league, not as accomplished, but she's made that league so much more profitable in just a few years, just like he did. back in the day, but I'm not sure why the lawmakers need to get involved. But I think the WNBA can police itself, but I guess not.
Well, the WNBA needs to really step it up because she's the reason why, as you said, the money's flowing in.
Right.
And I know that a lot of the others are jealous of her.
It's all jealousy.
But they should embrace it because without her, their money's going to go away too. You need to be careful if you're the WNBA. They've got some better young talent in there, and Paige Beckers is in there at this point, Angel Reese. Some of these names that have been more household names over the last several years that have become part of the WNBA. And, of course, was it Asia Wilson, who's probably the best player in the league from Vegas. So you've got all of that going for you. They need to allow the momentum to continue to roll. They're starting to get some national TV stuff. They're on major networks right now, and they're not playing in casinos. So that's always a good thing for the WNBA. Nick, you told me, as I told you, we've been watching a little bit of tennis. We've been watching Wimbledon.
Love
that's been going on.
Always have,
the Americans are all gone.
Yeah.
Coco Gauff lost this morning. An interesting matchup for the finals for the women. Carolina Machova, who knocked off Gauff, who was the 10th seed, taking on Linda Noskova, who's the 9 seed. So a lot of the big guns for the women were out early in this thing. So that should be an interesting final. And we've got the semis that are coming up for the men tomorrow. Probably the most intriguing name in all of this, Arthur Ferry, who's a local kid. He's the only English player left. Was a wild card to get in. Lives right down the street from Wimbledon. He's playing Alexander Zverev, the 2nd seed, in one of the semis. And then the number 1 seed, Jannik Sinner, playing maybe the greatest tennis player of all time, Novak Djokovic, who just continues to hang around there.
Yeah, watch that match.
Tomorrow
That'll be an all-timer, that one.
Yeah, tomorrow should be a fun semifinals for Wimbledon.
I'm glad you're
Especially if
watching
you can't
tennis,
really-
Dave.
Well, if you can't get up and move around, you're going to be watching some tennis.
I love tennis. I'm glad to hear you like it. Good.
I do like it. And we'll wrap up with the World Cup. I mean, Nick's more into this than me. Nick told me it's called football. So, we know America lost on Monday.
Yeah.
I see France is up right now. Who's the favorite in this thing?
I would think it's France. I mean, they're just loaded. You watch them, all the soccer people, and I'm no expert by any means. I do enjoy watching it, but France seems to be the favorite. But then we have the other matchups. Belgium, who knocked out the U.S., they're playing Spain. Norway against England. England, I guess we'll have to root for. Harry Kane.
Oh, England should be good.
Yeah, Harry Kane's awesome for England. Argentina, their great comeback against Egypt. They were down 2-0 and then came back to win 3-2.
Right?
That's Messi. Yeah, Ronaldo's out for Portugal, but Messi's still around. They're playing Switzerland, who knocked out Colombia the other day. So if I had to pick a team, well, France is up 2-0 now. They're going to beat Morocco, but I think France does win the World Cup if I had to bet. Should be fun.
Well, we will wait and see. That's all the time we have for this week's edition of the Sports Voice. When we talk to you next week, we'll have the All-Star Game. The Major League Baseball draft will have happened by then. The Futures Game, Pirates have Florentino and Hernandez both in that. So a lot, I'm sure, to come, and we're getting ever so close to football as well. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll talk to you next Thursday, 4:15 to 6.
Hi, this is Dave Dunaway, and I'm here to remind you that Franco's Golf Center is open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. Stop by and see Franco's facility on Route 21 west of Uniontown. Franco's service area includes a lighted driving range and golf pro shop. Even my game has improved thanks to golf lessons with Franco's PGA instructors. Franco's also offers full custom club fitting and repairs by certified club fitter Greg Franco. Franco's is open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Give Franco's a call at 724-438-6651.
If you're ready for a dental makeover or in need of basic dental care, the office of Dr. Mark Rabatin is right for you. Dr. Rabatin uses the latest advancement in the industry to achieve comprehensive care that will preserve your smile for years to come by providing general dentistry services. Call today to schedule your appointment at their modern office, located in the Fayette Business Park, 724-437-4991, for the fine art of dentistry.
78 degrees, a flood watch for the next few hours, but should be dry. This is your local station, WMBS Uniontown at 6.
For key testimony in the Charlie Kirk murder case, I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. An investigator describing DNA and bullet evidence at the pretrial hearing for Tyler Robinson. Earlier today, prosecutors established from Robinson's former romantic partner that Robinson etched bullets used in the shooting.
State Bureau investigator Jennifer Falmuina testified about what those bullets said.
Will you read the markings here?
A fascist.
On page 3.
Catch.
On page 4.
Up arrow, right arrow, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow.
She detailed that swabs of parts of the rifle suspected of being used in the shooting of Charlie Kirk revealed DNA from Robinson. Prosecutors played a video of an investigative interview with Robinson's former romantic partner, Lance Twiggs, in which Twiggs said Robinson cried after the shooting and said he wished he hadn't done it.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. 8 men have been indicted on federal murder and terrorism and conspiracy charges for their roles in a planned drone and sniper attack at the UFC match at the White House last month. The indictment charges all 8 in 2 separate conspiracies, one to provide material support to terrorists and a second to commit murder on federal government territory and to murder a federal government official. The U.S. military denying reports from Iran of a new round of attacks after 2 days of strikes.
The U.S. strikes hit some 90 targets last night. They include 2 rail bridges on lines the U.S. says were used by Iran to transport weapons. Missile launchers, runways were hit, and a number of maritime targets were hit on the coast. The town Bashir was hit, and that is where Iran maintains a massive nuclear facility.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv. Wally Funk, the aviation pioneer who was the oldest woman to launch into space, has died. Her caregiver says Funk died in an assisted living facility outside Dallas and Fort Worth. Funk was one of 13 female pilots who went through the same tests as NASA's all-male astronauts in the 1980s. America's listening to Fox News.
Quality parts, accessories, paints, tools, and supplies. Napa Auto Parts complete line for cars, trucks, imports, and farm equipment. Napa Auto Parts keeps America running. Fayette Auto in Uniontown, Standard Auto in Brownsville, and Napa Auto in Bell Vernon and Monongahela carry premium quality auto parts at discount prices. They always have a huge inventory of parts in stock when you visit a Napa Auto Part location. Over 200,000 parts in stock. Ask about their Napa lifetime warranty on most items with a no-hassle return policy. Open weekends and evenings. In Brownsville, phone 724-785-3800. Bell Vernon, dial 724-929-5522. Monongahela, dial 724-258-3101. And in Uniontown, dial 724-437-7553 for Napa Auto Parts.
The FBI joins a multi-agency investigation after remains of a child were discovered in Illinois that are believed to be tied to a Missouri kidnapping case.
Child remains were found Wednesday in Stuckey Township in St. Clair County, Illinois.
Deep into the woods, and it required construction-grade equipment to tear down vegetation and trees.
St. Louis police spokesman Mitch McCoy saying the case could be connected to a parental kidnapping case there, reported to police last month, involving a mother who had not seen her child in 2 years. The missing child's father, 32-year-old Ronell Jones, and another woman have both been taken into custody and are being held without bond. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The number of dead from Ebola in the Congo is at least 600 as new suspected cases have been reported in areas of the country that were previously unaffected. The outbreak is caused by a virus that has no approved vaccine or treatment. The conflict in Iran impacting jet fuel costs. That means Americans will likely be spending more to travel this summer.
With tensions flaring up in the Middle East again, that means oil prices are climbing and so are jet fuel prices. They increased about 20 cents from Tuesday to Wednesday. That's a 10% increase over just that one-day period. And that is raising concerns that airfare will stay high through the busy summer travel season. U.S. airlines spent around $6.7 billion on jet fuel in May. That's about 84% more than